Hi folks, Dave, the Honest Audiophile. This is the Aune AR5000, and these are my Honest Audiophile impressions. I want to thank Aune Audio for providing the AR5000 for a review. Do greatly appreciate it. Aune Audio, you rock. Alright, so the Aune AR5000. This will set you back $300 from your bank account. It is a semi-open over-ear headphone. It has 50mm dynamic MLD drivers and a tilted diaphragm, impedance of 28 ohms, sensitivity of 108 decibels, and it has a frequency response range of 5 Hz to 41.8 kilohertz. And it weighs 350 grams. The Aune AR5000. It comes in this rather large box. Get a picture, get some branding here. For music we design, it says. On the back side, you get some descriptions of the tilted diaphragm, and oh, we got a high-res sticker. It's gotta sound good. All right, so the inside of the box, there's not really too much to show you. It's a nice box, but it's pretty typical of any over-ear headphone. You get a foam insert with some silk cloth, and then a headphone on the inside with a box of accessories. Inside the box of accessories, you get this. You get a cable and a 1/4-inch adapter. Now the cable's decent. It's a fabric build, nicely twisted, well controlled. It's a little short, about 4 foot long. You have dual entry into the headphones that are labeled with R and L for right and left. A metal split that is Aune branded, and then your termination of 3.5 with that 1/4-inch adapter. Overall, it's an okay cable. Kind of feels a little bit lackluster though for $300 price point. Aune was kind enough to send over a few extra accessories. I wasn't able to find links or prices for them though, but I'll show them anyway. So you get a little headphone stand, Aune branded, nice and lightweight, but yet it actually does stay on the desk very well. Didn't tip over or anything like that. And then they sent over a balanced cable, which is terminated into a 4.4. It's a little bit longer. It's about 5 foot long, and just looks nicer. Kind of wish that this had been the stock cable. If I'm able to find the links for those accessories, I'll put them in the comments or in the description. Alright, so the Aune AR5000. 350 grams, very well built. This is all metal and nice and light. You got some swivel, and you got some really cool looking cups. It's rose gold color. It's really kind of cool. The drivers, you can see, have a little bit of a red tint to them, and it says Aune AR5000, and then high definition MLD driver. You can see that they have venting here on the cups, along with the venting on the sides, and a nice leather suspension strap, and it says Air Reference Series. Air Reference Series. It's nice and wide, and overall I just find that it's very well built. You got sliders here, and it stays in place once it's selected for where you want your sliders. It'll expand to pretty much any size head. It's rather large. Popping them on your head, they are extremely comfortable. A little bit on the big side. Definitely going to be noticed if you're wearing them around. The suspension strap does a good job of disbursement, and I find them to be extremely comfortable. I can wear them for hours with no problem whatsoever. I find that the AR5000 is just one of those headphones that just kind of disappears on your head. The pads. The pads are a leather and fabric design, and a little bit more of a D shape, and they are angled and fenestrated Overall, I like these pads a lot. You can remove them and replace them. I didn't do that, but you can remove them. And then here on the inside, you can see that vented and that tilted diaphragm. And it is very unique how it fits in there. And also, it's not an exposed driver. It is covered. One thing I did notice about the tilted diaphragm and the fit, you just kind of have to play around and wiggle it until you get the sound to come. Sometimes if you have them in the wrong position, too lean forward or back, you will get some oddness in the sound stage. So just adjust them, and you might have to put them a little bit further on your head than you normally do. But get those drivers angled properly, and you'll get a very unique presentation, which we'll talk about here shortly. So the Aune AR5000 is rather easy to drive. I was surprised at 28 ohms and 108 decibels of sensitivity. Dongles will drive it easily. Most of the dongles that I have drove it to loudness with just a couple of notches on the old volume. I was rather surprised at that. They sound slightly better on DAPs and also on desktop, but dongles will drive them. I did find that dongles that were running them unbalanced using this other cable that Aune sent sounded better than the 3.5, but using them 3.5, it's a good experience. So it's not necessary to run them balanced, but it was my preference to use the better cable and balanced cable. The Aune AR5000 sounds really good with the Aune Yuki. Aune Yuki will get its own review here shortly on the channel. Also sounded good with other dongles. And then DAPs, the Hibi R5 Gen 2, Sony NWA105, and then desktop like the Aune S9C Pro and S17 Pro sounded fantastic. The Mytek Liberty DAC 2 and Mytek HPA, the Aune X1S GT, the FIO K9 AKM, the SMSL AO300, the FIO K11, and several other devices. It just sounded really, really good. Did try it on tube amps, and it also sounded very well. So it's not very source picky, very easy to drive, and found that it'll pretty much pair with anything. How does the Aune AR5000 sound? Now, the Aune AR5000 was quite the experience. I was, from the moment I put them on, going, wow. You would think that somebody who has built a ton of headphones built these. And this is Aune's first attempt at a headphone. I would have thought that somebody that had several different models of headphones had come up with the AR5000. Not just because of the build quality and the comfort, but because of the sound. So the base of the AR5000 is very linear and neutral with a natural tint to it. It has a nice slight warmth, and it extends okay into the sub bass. You get a little bit of rumble and grumble when called upon, but it's not really going to like rumble and grumble and just shiver you. It's not going to do that, but you will get a little bit there when called upon. Mid bass and upper bass is where the focus is, and it stays very well controlled while still having nice impact and slam and punch. Overall, it is an enough quantity, but it's more about the quality. The quality of the bass of the AR5000 is impressive. The tonality of it has a nice, slight, warm, natural tint to it, and it has enough body, and also at the same time, it has a very good timbre. Everything sounds accurate and true. And it's a very honest headphone. It has nice details and resolution to it, and it stays well controlled. It doesn't blow into the mids, and also it's not super elevated and thick and too robust, but yet it has enough authority to let you know, hey, there's some bass in this track, and I'm showing it to you, but I'm not going to like show it to you. I'm gonna let you know that it's here, and if what its details are and how it plays, but yeah, at the same time, I'm not going to like blast it to you and make it a fun experience, I'm going to give it to you in a more realistic way. And then the mids of the AR5000 are very natural, very organic, and they have that slight natural warmth about them. And everything sounds accurate and true. Instruments have a nice organic feel to them and a sound to them. And overall, it's just a very appealing mid. Vocalists have a fullness about them without sounding too robust or too thick. They're not forward and pushed and elevated. They're very cohesive and balanced and even within the mix. And then instruments also play very well all the way through all the octaves. And you're going to be able to keep everything even, and it just all plays together and comes together very pleasurably and engaging. And like the bass, it has enough of the authority and enough of the presence about it to grab you and say, we're here, but yet at the same time, it's not so pushed and forced that it's trying to take the focus away from other aspects. And then the treble. The treble is extended nicely. You get nice air and extension up top, and you have enough energy, sizzle, and sparkle in the treble without being too elevated and too forced and sounding unnatural. It has very good tone and timbre, nice details and resolution. And like the mids, everything just has this slight little bit of warm air to it. It just has a little bit of that touch of sweetness and naturalism, and it just sounds very organic and true. So overall, the bass, the mids, and the treble are very cohesive and very balanced, and they play well together, all staying within their lanes and being very even and controlled with enough extension on both sides, and it has enough space and enough air, and everything just kind of works together as you would want a track to be. And then the soundstage. The soundstage of the AR5000 is impressive. So the AR5000 soundstage is a very, immersive experience. So it has the ability to be very small and intimate, and to be something in between, and a little bit wider and a little bit wider and a little bit wider and a little big and grand. The AR5000 does a really good job of portraying differences in sizes of stages in the tracks. If it's a big, wide open, grand stage, you're going to get things coming from everywhere around you, and you're going to feel like you're in the middle of it, and it's just really cool to listen to. It's like, wow, things are moving around, but yet at the same time, they're being controlled, and they're accurate, and things are moving and being placed, and you can track it and place it and go, it's right there, that's coming here, that's moving across, and then things can get really intimate and close, and you can go, all right, these people are right next to me and right in front of me, and I can place things. The imaging of the AR5000 is very nice as well, and things track across the stage very well. You can go, it's right there, it's right there. It's not super precise, but it's a pretty close to being precise. It's in the neighborhood, and it's right, very small neighborhood. And then layering. The layering of the AR5000 is really good, especially for a $300 headphone. You can read into the stage, and you can hear things on top of each other and beside each other and around each other, and they just kind of play together the way they should without overshadowing each other and bumping each other out of the way. They do a very good job of staying isolated and staying focused, and they're not trying to compete with each other for space. And then also, it does a really good job of giving you that feeling of naturalism. It's, even though it can get really wide and grand, it doesn't sound unnatural and spreading things out too far. It doesn't sound artificial. It sounds very accurate. Tone and timbre of the AR5000 is very natural. It has this organic feel to it. All instruments sound lifelike. It reproduces them very, very well. It's a little bit light on note weight. It's not the heaviest of note weights, but it does have enough note weight and body to it, but it could use just a little bit more at times, especially on stringed instruments and also brass instruments and woodwinds. I find that they sound a little bit thin at times, especially when there's a bunch of them going on. The details of the AR5000 are also really good for a $300 headphone. You're not going to miss anything. And at times you might even go, oh wow, I never heard that before. And it does a really good job of resolving the details. It stays focused and you can find the detail and follow it through. It does a really good job of resolving the details that it gives. So the AR5000, Aune's first headphone. Quite impressive. How does it compare to a couple other dynamic headphones in a similar price point? So first you have the Audio-Technica R70x. Now the Audio-Technica R70x has a little bit warmer of a presentation. It's not as bassy as the AR5000, does not extend into the sub bass. You don't get as much rumble and grumble, and it doesn't have as much impact as the AR5000. The mids are a little bit on the warmer side and a little bit more lush. They have a little bit more note weight than the AR5000, and the treble extends nicely on the R70X and has a good amount of sparkle and energy similar to the AR5000, but I find that the R70X isn't quite as controlled, and at times it has a little bit of peakiness in the uppers. Soundstage wise, the R70X and AR5000 are very similar in width, and they do a good job of showing off that grandness, and they also can come in and be intimate. But the R70X at times always kind of seems like it wants to push things a little bit wide and can have somewhat of that artificial sounding stage. Does pretty good. It's similar to the AR5000 when it comes to layering, and imaging is pretty similar as well. And then you have the Sennheiser HD600. Now the HD600 is going to sound more intimate. It's going to have a more forward midsection. Everything's going to sound closer in the mids. The bass is not as extended and does not have near as much impact and slam and punch and authority, especially in the sub bass. Mid bass is a little bit closer. The HD600 is going to sound warmer in the mids, and the upper mids are going to be more elevated, more forward. Lower trebles also more elevated, and then the upper treble has a little bit of a peak on the HD600, and it can get a little bit aggressive, maybe a little bit spicy to some ears. The HD600 soundstage is way smaller. It's very much intimate, and it does a little bit better with layering, and imaging is maybe slightly a little bit more precise and accurate. Detail retrieval is very similar to the AR5000, and resolution, I think the AR5000 actually is slightly better. Tone and timbre of the HD600 has a little bit more note weight to it, and also maybe just slightly more natural. All right, so the Aune AR5000, Aune's first headphone, has really impressed me. And as I said, you know, I would have thought that this was made by somebody who had created numerous headphones prior to. This thing is well built, comfortable, and looks the part of a more expensive headphone, and it sounds fantastic for its price point. And in my opinion, kind of beats out some of the ones that have been sitting there for a while, the HD600 and the R70X. And I like the AR5000 a whole lot. Highly recommend it. For $300, this thing's awesome. It's been Dave, the Honest Audiophile. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video. Speaking of next video, somewhere on screen, subscription links, notification bells. If you haven't already, please check those off. Don't forget to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down to the video, and check out all the links down below. There's all kinds of information on there regarding how you can contact channel, follow channel, support channel, all that kind of stuff is listed down below. Speaking of supporting channel, I want to thank my supporters through Patreon and YouTube memberships. Thank you very much for all that you provide to the channel. It is much appreciated. If you are interested in supporting the channel, there's many ways that you can do that. one-time gifts through PayPal, Venmo, or through monthly subscriptions with Patreon and YouTube memberships. If you subscribe to a monthly subscription, you can get early access to videos and also access to my private Discord server. Down below, there's also other kinds of information like gear recommendations and music recommendations and all kinds of other things. So check out the links down below. And lastly, don't forget to enjoy the music and that honesty is the best policy.